Next up, we have Dr. Jonathan Fields, who is the clinical director and founder of Integrative Medicine US, which is a very successful integrative medicine practice here in South Florida. Dr. Fields is a doctor of acupuncture, herbal, and functional medicine and has trained in famous hospitals around the world. He has taught seminars to professional fighters, mental health counselors, and even Fortune 500 companies. He also has over 15 years' experience teaching people in martial arts, Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, and breath work. A very unique connection that Dr. Fields and I share is that we both trained at the same Shaolin Warrior Center in China. He was actually there about a year before I was, and him and I only connected once I had returned from China when I had reached out to him looking for a martial arts and Qigong school in the area. It was then that we learned that we had both trained at the same temple. So I think it's fascinating just how small this world is and how God or the universe always puts people in your place at the right time, the right people in your life at the right time. Today, Dr. Fields and I are going to be discussing stress management, why we find it so normal to live such a busy and high-stressed life. We'll also look into early warning signs that you could use to pick up on and use as a reminder that maybe it's time to take a step back and reassess. We'll also be looking into some techniques that you can use to help manage stress. And let me tell you, the number one technique is easier, more simple, and more impactful than you could imagine. Jonathan, good morning. Welcome.
Morning. Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you and have you share with us today. I know you've got such extensive knowledge and experience in an area that all of us tend to deal with at one point or another, and that is stress. So I'm looking very forward to what you have to share with us today.
Me too. And it's my pleasure. And thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here and share with everybody.
Of course. I think, even for myself, particularly at the moment, over the last couple of months in putting this summit together, I can feel my stress levels have definitely increased a little bit. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but they've definitely been present. So I'm looking forward to what you have to share.
And it adds up. It's cumulative, right? Because it's a little bit every day. And if you don't do something to de-stress or unwind, it gets to, where we can get to a breaking point.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to sort of see these warning signs and pinpoint it early enough so you can sort of nip it in the butt from the beginning.
Correct.
So when we hear the word stress, we automatically associate it as being a bad thing. We'll think of it as being a bad thing. However, low levels of stress are very important for a healthy, functioning body. But, like you said, it's when it starts to accumulate and it becomes a consistent thing, high levels of stress consistently, and end up becoming chronic, that it really becomes a problem. So what role does stress play on our bodies, and what would healthy levels of stress look like?
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. And that is a very good point because everyone wants to be stress-free which is impossible, right? We all know you can't get through life without stress. So the negative effects, right, will be if you're too stressed out all the time, you're going to have high cortisol levels, high adrenaline levels. You're always going to be in this fight or flight mode, which can down the road trigger anxiety or panic attacks, inflammation, weight gain, chronic pain, and possibly even trigger underlying, maybe other autoimmune stuff that you have going on, and so on and so on. I mean, the negative effects, I think, are very well documented. Cardiovascular risk, all these types of things. You're going to be more susceptible to diabetes, all sorts of different diseases. As far as healthy levels of stress, and when we just talked about quickly about adrenaline, right? So that is your fight or flight, and there's a reason for that, right? If we're driving down the road and you hear a car backfire or somebody swerves in your lane, you need to be able to be prepared to meet that with the proper response, right? And if your response, if you're too stressed or too heightened, one little thing like that can trigger you and kind of set you off, and then it could be a downward spiral from there, which will very negatively impact your health. But when you're sleeping at night, your stress level and your cortisol and all that stuff should go down and reset, right? And then in the morning, it needs to kind of come back up so you have some energy to kind of burn and get you through your day. And a healthy level of stress would basically be knowing how to deal with it and having enough energy to get through the day, right? So you got a lot of people, oh, I need 4 cups of coffee in the morning and 6 espressos. There's a problem there. Then you're running on you're replacing the natural energy that you should have, or your cortisol levels are not replenishing, and eventually you're going to end up with what we like to call adrenal fatigue, right?
Yeah.
That's where you're producing the adrenaline, and the adrenals are little sacs that sit on top of your kidneys. And from an Eastern medicine perspective, your kidneys store not only yin and yang, but also your essence, your jing. So that gets depleted, and that's like an example of adrenal fatigue.
Okay, fantastic. So you're saying that's a good sign for people to look out for if they, are feeling that they need to get through the day by having 6 cups of coffee or a candy bar, whatever the case is, to give their
Red Bull,
all that. Yeah. So their adrenal or their cortisol levels are not replenishing at night. They're being, overloaded sort of through the day and not being able to replenish at night and give them the energy that they need throughout the day.
You're not going to have a good quality sleep, basically, if that goes away, and you're not going to feel replenished in the morning. Now, there are other underlying factors, but we know stress is contributing to all of that. And I'd say, especially within our society these days, there is no emphasis in Western society really on stress management, which is a big part of the problem.
I think it is slowly growing in awareness, but we still have a bit of a way to go. But it's good to see that a lot more people are becoming aware of this and looking to implement some things along the way to help them manage their stress and anxiety. But the society we live in at the moment, it's almost like we pride ourselves on being busy and stressed. And if you are not stressed or busy, then you're not doing enough and you're not trying hard enough. And why do you think, as a society, particularly in the West, that we have a mentality like this?
It's a good question, right, we're all in this rat race basically, and I'm guilty just like everybody else. I run an acupuncture and integrative medicine clinic. I'm in the office most days from 9 a.m. to probably 8 p.m. and I go home and do 2-3 hours of paperwork every night.
Wow.
But the only reason I can manage that is because I do deal with the stress, right? And I have my own practices, like whether it be breath work or Tai Chi and Qigong and a healthy diet. So when I do sleep, I actually am recuperating. And that schedule, I'm not recommending that schedule for anybody else because it doesn't work well. And I've had periods in the past where I've been close to burnout or have burnt out, and then you need to take some time off. Why is it? I think this society is we have, right, the FOMO, fear of missing out. Right, mm-hmm. One, you don't want to miss out on anything, and two, times are getting tougher and tougher economically, and everybody just wants to grind, and we want to be successful, and we feel you need to work as hard as possible and as much as possible, and they kind of ingrain that into you. And it's very different. Like, if you look at the Europeans, right, they have like 5-6 weeks paid vacation every year. You don't have that. I mean, a lot of these jobs here, in America, sometimes you won't even have any paid time off, or depending on the job. Yeah. So, it's this drive to succeed, but at what cost, right? And to some extent, you got to wonder if the system is designed to make us fail and to make us sick and to make us unhealthy, right? Because who benefits from it?
Definitely, yeah. Like you say, companies don't always give you adequate time or leave throughout the year, which does put a lot of pressure on.
But if you're looking at the more progressive companies nowadays, like the big tech companies, even the big banks nowadays, they have all these corporate wellness programs. You can have work from home days. People do massages. So some of these bigger or like more progressive companies are kind of catching on to learning that if your workers are too stressed out, and if they're not well rested, and if they're working too much, they're actually going to be less productive, not more productive.
Yes. So hopefully with these big corporations doing it, it will start filtering down, and we'll see more and more companies getting on that bandwagon. And I think, a lot of it has to do with our belief systems and sort of what we see. If we're used to our parents, from a young age, seeing our parents working, crazy hours back to back, taking a little bit of time maybe on the weekend or some leave once a year, we get into that mindset and that mentality that this is how things need to be. This is normal. This is the way life works. And we don't see any other options because that's what we are used to. That's what we've grown up knowing. And I think, you need to look at yourself, your life, and maybe your parents and your grandparents and how they did things, because maybe you're just carrying on belief systems from them, and not looking for alternatives, not seeing another option or another way.
Correct. It's a mental conditioning that we're kind of stuck with. And a lot of times we're not prepared to make that mind shift to kind of reset and start over. And even we're not always aware that there are other possibilities, right? And with the bills increasing and inflation and everything like that, we feel like we do have to work more. And a lot of times it is hard to keep up. And that's where some of us need to really just kind of work on creative problem solving and outside the box, and look for people like yourself or myself that can help kind of coach them into the right direction. And sometimes it takes, and I have business mentors and personal mentors that I look up into, and mentors in my field and martial arts. And you can pick and learn a little bits and pieces and kind of incorporate it and assimilate it into your own life and reshape it. We can grow. But a lot of times you get stuck doing, we're still, I like how you brought up, we learn it from our parents, right? So our parents grew up in a very different time frame where they might be a factory worker for their whole career. That's not how life is anymore, right? Most of us don't have the same job for the whole life, or we have multiple jobs and just to make things meet. So we have to adapt differently. If we're doing the same thing they were doing in a different environment, we haven't evolved. We're going to get left behind in the dust.
Definitely. Flexibility and having that ability to adjust is definitely key to I think, stress management.
Sure, right. If the tree is too stiff in the storm, right, it's going to snap, right?
Exactly.
Bamboo and the palm trees kind of do well.
Yes. So particularly if we are looking at the holiday season, I know it can be a time where our stress levels increase for many people, and we feel a lot more feelings of anxiety and overwhelm. Some people don't, like you had said, don't even have a chance to take leave or go on vacation, and they're trying to juggle work and family and indoor events, or some people get stressed out trying to plan the perfect party or do gift shopping, if that's something that you do. And we can just get very overwhelmed and start feeling anxious and very stressed out by everything that the holiday season brings, instead of coming back to what it actually means. We sort of get lost in the consumerism and the chaos. So what would be some practical tips that you could advise our audience on if they find that they're starting to feel these feelings of anxiety or overwhelm? How could they go about either avoiding that or managing it when they do feel it coming on?
So that is a fantastic question, and you brought up some very good points. And I'll give you a multifaceted answer. For one, slow down, right? Because we get so frantic. Like, I got to do this and this and that. And the other thing that you brought up, trying to do the let's say the perfect party or find the perfect gift. Stop it, right? There's no perfect, right? You can't please everybody. You can only do your best, and your best is going to be good enough. I think part of the problem is we have so much reliance and so much emphasis on other people's perceptions.
Yeah.
Didn't. Who cares? You didn't like my party, don't come next year, right?
Yeah.
And you want to be rude about it, and it's not that you didn't try enough, right? Because we're all doing our best, but there's you got the people that are going to complain, and you got the people that are going to compliment with you, and if you're trying your best to cater to all the complainers and all the people that have nothing but negative things to say, you're never going to be happy. They're never going to be happy. That's their personal problem. Don't make it your personal problem. So part of what we need to do is let go of the ants, right? The automatic negative thoughts, right? So neurolinguistic programming, kind of rewiring in our brain, and based on how we think of ourselves and talk to ourselves, right? If anybody who's familiar with like the 4 agreements, right? The first one is be impeccable with your word. So, which also is your thoughts, right? If you're always thinking my party's not going to be good enough, I'm not going to find the right gift, even if it is, you're putting that energy into it, and you're putting that energy into the gift and into the party, and whether you know it or not, that's going to affect the people around you and yourself. So like I said in the beginning, slow down, do what you got to do, make a list, and prioritize. What is, number 1 through 5, what is my long-term goals? Like a month from now, I need to have the party done and all the gifts done. What am I going to do this Saturday? What am I going to do Monday? And just pick 1 or 2 things per day, and don't try to overwhelm yourself, right? If the list keeps growing and growing and growing, and you keep putting these goals further and further out, and we tend to procrastinate. And then that makes the situation more stressful. So the other thing I find a lot of people do is too much planning. Too much planning, not enough doing, right? So you're driving yourself crazy. Like, instead of the time of thinking about this stuff, like I said, you make your list and you just do 1 or 2 things at a time, slowly, regularly, and don't care about what other people are going to think about it. Like, don't worry about their perceptions. You can't change anybody else's mind. So if it's the kind of person who's going to complain no matter what, I mean, if you were to give them, the golden ticket, they're still going to complain about it. So that's not your fault. That's not your problem. It's out of your hands. And just know that
you can't control their reaction or their thoughts, but you can manage your own mind, and that's very important.
100%. So that's where the start is. Slow down, accomplish 1 or 2 things at a time, and just do your best, and don't worry about the rest.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And for people who are looking to develop a stress management program or a mindfulness practice, I know it's going to be different for everybody, because what works for you might not work for me, and we sort of need to find our own comfort zone. But what would be some tips you could give people on where to start out if they want to start but they just don't know where? What would be your sort of 5 tips for people on where they can start a stress management or mindfulness program?
Beautiful. I'm really glad you brought that up as well, because I deal with a lot of that in the clinic, and I actually treat a lot of anxiety and stress, and I'm on a specialty board for mental health. And when we tell people, hey, you need to meditate, or you need to, take some mindfulness practice or do exercise, what's the most common response, right? 1, I don't have time. I don't know what to do. I can't meditate, right? Which is all true, because we're all super busy. A lot of people don't know how to do it, and a lot of people are not going to make that commitment. So my advice to everybody is, you don't need to, well, once again, stop thinking about it and start doing it, right? Take 30 seconds. My best recommendation is, and this is what I tell all my patients that have these sort of issues, when you wake up in the morning, the very first thing you do, 30 seconds of breath work. You don't need to do 10 minutes. You don't need to do, if I tell them, listen, you need to do a 20-minute routine, they're not going to do it. If I tell them 5 minutes, they're going to tell me I don't have the time, right? If you tell them go to the corner and meditate, I can't, right? My mind's too crazy. So what I have them do is just connect with the breath. So step 1 would be just regular abdominal breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, right? You inhale. You do that
laying in bed before they even sort of jump out.
Or I tell them, listen, if you need to go, take a leak, come back. And I just have 30 seconds to 1 minute, right? In the beginning. That way, when you start your day, you don't pop out of bed like, oh, I'm late to work, right? I got to run. I got to do this. I got to make breakfast for the kids. Like, 30 seconds. Nobody can tell me they don't have 30 seconds when they first wake up, right? Everybody has 30 seconds. And start, just inhale, blow up the abdomen, exhale, make yourself real thin, like blowing up and inflating a balloon. And then we'll give them more tips and more things in the breath work, like do a very light kegel, maybe 20-30% with the inhales, keeping the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Things like that will make the breath practice more powerful and more engaging for you. And then I tell them, and then again, right before you go to bed. That way, when you go to bed, your cortisol levels, the vagus nerve, everything's already you've already activated your parasympathetic nervous system, and you're a little more relaxed. So you're going to slip into a deeper, better quality sleep faster. You'll hit your REM mode faster, rather than going to bed stressed out, watching the news on the phone, and then I try to go to bed and then I can't sleep, and then nightmares, and you're tossing and turning all night.
Yes.
And then throughout the day, I tell them, listen, you can do this anywhere. Do it at a red light. Do it when you're on the toilet. Do it when you're on the shower. You only need 30 seconds. So I have a patient that's been coming now just once or twice, super high anxiety, multiple medications. I gave her this work, and the other day she was in here and she's telling me, oh, well, I'm only doing 3 to 5 minutes a day. So that's amazing. That's 3 to 5 minutes more than most people are doing per day.
Yeah.
Right. And it's already working for her. She already feels better. And then, obviously there's, I would always recommend seeing a professional, like somebody with like yourself that can help with dietary wise or supplementation, or possibly, if you can join like a yoga practice, even if you're doing it at home on YouTube, or my background is more like Tai Chi and Qigong and the martial arts. But if you don't have time for that, just find 30 seconds in the morning, 30 seconds before bed, and any time that you're feeling stressed or you're feeling overwhelmed, 30 seconds. That's all you need. Don't make it like I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. You have to do it like brushing your teeth. You don't leave your house without brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
You have to brush your teeth. You have to do your breath work. You got to take a second for yourself every day. You have to. Right? It's got to be incorporated into the lifestyle, not I'm going to schedule it on Tuesday. It's not going to happen.
And the more we start to do that, the more automatic it's going to become, a stronger habit it's going to become. And I love how you said taking 30 seconds in the morning or 30 seconds at night to do this breath work. I know BJ Fogg, the author of Tiny Habits, he always says that if you want to create a new healthy habit, make sure it's so easy that you can do it within 30 seconds, because that's going to, it's going to stick. And I just love that you brought up breathing, because it was something I wanted us to touch on today. It's such an important aspect for overall health, and it's such a great way to start with stress management. Like you say, first of all, it's free and it's available to any of us at any time of day, which is fantastic. And I've also got into the habit of, whenever I'm at a red light now, instead of, I don't know, checking my phone or letting my mind run wild, I sit there and use that time I use the light as a reminder, like a trigger for me to start breathing. And it's definitely made a huge difference. I think the more we do it, the more we'll start doing it subconsciously as well. And it's not going to be something that we have to think about constantly throughout the day. And will definitely have a huge impact on our overall stress levels. I don't know if you have some patients waiting for you. I don't know how much time you have left. Do you have a couple of minutes?
Yeah, I have another minute or two. But I'm glad you brought that up, and that ties us back into the beginning of the conversation. It's scientifically proven that by doing breath work and by taking these 9 deep breaths, number one, you're going to force blood and oxygen everywhere in the body, which is going to bring nutrients, which is going to balance your neuroendocrine system. It's going to balance your hormones, right? If we're taking these very shallow breaths, we're going to have poor circulation. And the 2 most important things for proper hormone regulation, and that includes all the brain hormones like the dopamine, serotonin, right, oxytocin, all the things that will kind of keep us away from anxiety and other more serious issues as well. Not that anxiety can't be a serious issue, because I deal with a lot of people that actually have legit panic attacks and have been hospitalized for that. Our circulation and blood sugar control. So that would be the other thing is working on your diet. Like I said, that's why they could work with somebody such as yourself that could help them kind of lead them in the right direction of what to eat, what not to eat, and what times they need to be eating and what time not to be eating is crucial. And then just a little bit of breath work will force the circulation. Even if you're not doing exercise, doing some breath work, you're going to force blood, oxygen, and nutrients throughout the body. And that alone, it's basically like a vagus nerve hack, and it'll stimulate your parasympathetic, which is the relaxing nervous system. It'll bring your cortisol levels down. And all this stuff is scientifically proven. It's not some, spiritual new age mumbo jumbo stuff.
No, definitely. You're right. It has been proven. And it's, the correct breathing, the importance of breathing is something that's been known and been practiced for centuries, but it's almost like in the West particularly, it's a lost art. And I myself didn't even understand the importance of correct breathing sort of growing up. It was truly only when I was at the Shaolin Temple that I learned through Shifu and the monks on how to start breathing correctly again. And it definitely, it changed my health outcome completely, because, like you said, it affects everything. It affects our stress levels, our weight management, our digestion, everything.
And let's look at some of the symptoms of high stress and anxiety. Shortness of breath, palpitations, oppression in the chest, right? And these are all things that affect our respiratory and cardiovascular function. So you can reset that on your own. It's possible. We do it every day.
Yes. And there's a great book. I don't know if you've read it, but I'd love our audience to check it out if you get a chance. It's called Breathe. And I think the author is James Nevron. I'll have to double check that, but it came out a few months ago.
I have the copy on the shelf. not ready yet. I got it. I'm really excited to read it. I've just been crazy in the clinic, but
I've been the same. I've had the book. I know it's got fantastic reviews, but it's also on my to-read list along with about 6 others. So hopefully we can get to that over the holiday season.
Sure, but once again, so I guess the takeaway would be to just take 30 seconds here and there, and don't make it like you need a thing. And people want to focus. Oh, I can't meditate. Forget meditation, right? Somebody who's stressed out or an overthinker, you're not going to sit there and wuji and think nothing. That's not going to happen.
Yes.
So focus on the breath. Focus on your abdomen expanding and releasing, right? Focus on bringing the breath in, and then when we do the practice, what I'll do, we teach a lot of visualizations with it. So you're not thinking about nothing. You actually have these visualizations of this white, heavenly, divine, cosmic light coming in through your crown and spreading through your body and permeating and cleansing every cell in your body with the breath. And as you exhale, I'll tell people to visualize like dirty bath water running out of the bottom, out of the balls of your feet, running off the table or back out of your feet into the earth, where they gets recycled and composted in the earth. Yes. So with every inhale, you're bringing in this divine light, this heavenly light that's cleansing. With every exhale, you're just dissolving everything you don't need out of your body. So if you're doing that and focusing on the abdomen moving, keeping the tongue to the roof of the mouth, doing a slight Kegel squeeze with every inhale, it's actually a lot. And I start them step by step. It's very difficult to get all that from the beginning. You got to start with just abdominal breathing, and then you can add in the other things step by step. And that is a whole meditative visualization, internal Neigong practice that actually takes a lot of work, but you can get it done in 30 seconds. And if you do it 30 seconds, even twice a day, it can have significant impact on your quality of life and overall health.
Definitely. So where could people go? I know you do a lot of online classes with Qigong and meditation, and where could people go to find this? I'll also pop it in an email to them, but if you just want to give our audience an idea now of where they can find you.
Fantastic. So the name of the practice is Integrative Medicine US. The website you can look up is imedicineus.com. So it's the letter I, medicineus.com. And our handle for Instagram and Facebook is the same. It's at iMedicineUS. And then I'll send it to you so you can post it as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, I'll pop it in an email so everybody can have access to that. And Dr. Fields has also kindly offered up a free gift for everybody. There will be a URL in the email that has the summit details. So scroll down there, pop on the link and download your free gift. And that is an ebook on how to eat healthy and make healthier eating choices, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Wonderful.
Well, fantastic. And thank you so much for the invite, and thank you for the beautiful work that you're doing. And for everybody watching this, we are sending you blessings, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fields. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here today and speaking with you. And I know you got to get run to your patients. So thank you and take care. Have a wonderful holiday season.
Well, you too. Good luck with the rest of the summit.
Thank you. Bye-bye.